Hello, I'm Anthony. I want to talk a little bit today about song structure. I'm writing this song at the moment called Sunset, which doesn't have a chorus, and it's a devil of a time trying to make a song interesting if it doesn't have a chorus. The vast majority of the songs that you ever listen to do have. And furthermore, the patterns that many songs employ generally tend to follow the same tropes. You can buy books that tell you what patterns you're supposed to use. I put that in air quotes. Genesis poked some gentle fun at it in 1981 with their song Abacab. It's not a deep and meaningful word. It's literally letters assigned to the labels of the song: verse, chorus, verse, bridge, verse, chorus, A-B-A-C-A-B. So we've known about this stuff forever, and songwriters use these concepts as crutches. I don't have a chorus in this song, so I need that change of interest, that kind of new direction to come from somewhere else. And I'm trying to do it with the sounds that I use. I'm trying to use a fairly small palette of sounds, but make each one of them interesting. So we're going to go through this song section by section, and I'll talk about the kind of the decisions that I'm faced with and how I'm trying to approach the difficulties of writing a song that doesn't have a chorus in it. So what I'm going to do is play small sections of this song and then chat a little bit about it. Just to say, I haven't written the lyrics yet. This pink line is a piano. I tend to play single note piano melodies as placeholders for where the lyrics are going to be. So that's going to be a huge hole in the overall palette of sound, because obviously lyrics are far more interesting than a single piano note. Anyway, let's get going. So for the first 4 bars, just bass and drums. The bass line was the first thing that came with this song. Usually I start a song with a guitar or a piano line, but every now and again a bass riff will kind of rear its head, and that actually becomes the underlying substructure. You're going to hear over the course of this song that it changes very, very little, and that's absolutely deliberate. So I wanted that to be the, I call it the connected anchor. There was a song by Stereo MCs called Connected, which has a 1-note bass line, I kid you not, and it's absolutely thumping. It's one of the best bass lines I've ever heard, and it's a single note. Check it out, it's just a work of genius. So what I've done here is I've got this really kind of constantly throbbing bass line under the in the background, and I want that to be the structure of everything that's going to sit on top, and the rest of the song is going to have to wrap itself around it. So the next section is the introduction of the first new sound. We're still in the same kind of structural section. If you want to give labels to bits of songs, this is the intro. We're still in section A, and now we've got a new sound in arpeggio. So I've just defined the primary chord structure there: A minor F, E minor, D minor C. You can see it across the top. That's going to be something that gets repeated a lot. This section of chords at the top of the chord track, just make sure you can see what, yep, that's all good, is the same as that, and the same as that. And we're going to have to wait till bar 33 before we get any variation of chords. If I'm going to do that, I need to make sure that the music underneath is interesting. So the next thing that I'm going to do is introduce a new sound. I've got my arpeggio going, and that's very nice. And because we're in 13/16 here, there's a little bit of, I'm kind of leaning on the time signature a bit to provide some of the interest. It's kind of difficult for your brain to hang on to 13/16, so you're kind of scrabbling around trying to catch on with that stuff. On the flip side, the other way to look at that is, if you're going to write a song in 13/16, don't throw the kitchen sink at the listener straight away, because it's going to take them a little bit of time to get into that groove. Okay, new sound, Rhodes piano. Let's go with the classics. It's a fabulous sound, always sounds good, and this is what we've got coming in now. Every time I tried to add more notes to that Rhodes piano line, I failed. There's, you can, all that kind of more funky thing was completely falling flat. It really wants to be extremely simple. It's also picking out the complexity of the 13, those offbeats at the end of the bar are catching, because the tempo is 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2, and the 1 2 at the end of the piece, if I do then it kind of emphasizes those and helps the listeners to kind of catch on. So here we are, something like 30 or 40 seconds into the song, and we just finished with the intro. All of that is just building up, getting this kind of structure, the underlying structure of the song up and running. Now at that point, all of the music is going to carry on doing exactly the same thing, and the new interest level is going to be with the vocals. So I've set up the melody, I've told you that you're in a complex time signature, but we're not ready to move anywhere yet because we're still exploring this new idea. Nothing complicated is going on. So now I'm going to bring the melody in. Let's get that in the editor below. Then we can actually watch the melody as it's played out. So just at the end there, we had our first change of chord structure. The A minor, C, D minor, A minor is a new thing. That's not happened before. And it provides the melody an opportunity to follow along with those chords and do something different as well. It's the first time as well that the bass line's done anything other than throbbing out that thing in the background. So for the first time, let's just jump back to that bit. So this is the standard bass line that you've been listening to the entire time. Little chromatic note in there, but so we're finally at the stage where we're now up and running. I've got the entire song going. The next idea that I had was, well, if I'm not going to have a chorus, how about I mess with the time signatures a little bit? So I've got this tiny 2-bar bridge which switches to 4/4. Because that's quite jarring, I wanted to pull all of the music away and just let the time signature speak for itself. Again, I'm not trying to overwhelm you with lots of different changes all at once because that just becomes a total mush. Let's have a listen to the bridge. And that's kind of a palette cleanser, just clears the boards, prepares for the next section of the song, which is in fact a repeat of the verse. So if we're talking in traditional terms, I've got a second verse here. Now if I'm going to do that, I need to do something new. The melody is exactly the same. These notes that I've just highlighted are identical to the previous verse. The only new thing that's happened is a new sound's being introduced. Let's hear what that sounds like. Now I've finally reached the point at bar 61, minus the little intro bit, that I can't just do this forever now. I've reached the limit of what I think I can get away with that single concept, that single musical idea. But rather than going into a chorus, which is what you might traditionally do at this point, I'm actually heading into an instrumental break. It's labelled bridge, but it doesn't particularly matter. It's just a solo. But because I don't have that dramatic change of a chorus, the thing about a chorus is that very often you'll change key, you'll change tempo, you might change the primary chord structure, start from a different chord in the chorus. There are lots of different techniques that you can employ to really take the listener on a different journey. I'm not doing that. I'm still fundamentally based in A. Even though the bass line is going to change, you'll hear that it does have that same kind of hypnotic rhythm to it. So I'm trying to work as hard as I can to make the sounds as interesting as they can possibly be. Now you can ignore these guitar lines, they're not currently in use. I don't particularly like that guitar solo. But we've got a primary keyboard melody, which is mirrored between two different instruments, the Casio CZ and the Rhodes piano. They're both playing exactly the same notes, very slightly panned, just to thicken the sound out a bit, and have a listen to the different bass line as well. Okay, I'll let the entire instrumental run. So I've written that melody over the past couple of days and it's still bedding in. I haven't actually decided whether or not that's its final form at the moment, but we're reasonably close. Similarly with those chord pads in the background, when I was listening to it then, every time, even when I make one of these videos where I'm approaching it from a slightly more critical perspective, they didn't quite do the job. So there's still tinkering to be done there, but fundamentally, I'm in this process of evolving the idea of the song. And so coming out of that section, we've got the 4/4 break again. Because that bridge has already been employed in the song, I can bring the user safely back to the melody line, and it's going to be a point of comfort for you. If you go somewhere new, if there's an interlude or a bridge or a chorus, when you come back to the verse, you want to hear something new. So what I've done is I've made the melody basically more energetic. It does that sort of culmination of the song kind of thing. So you'll hear the different notes of the melody. Just try to increase the energy a little bit. There will also be vocal harmonies underneath this. I don't put harmonies in until the primary line is sung. So there will be a kind of dramatic oohs and ahs sort of thing going on. And if you can superimpose over the top of that ooh, ahs and blah, blah, blahs, then this is the high point of the song. We've kind of pushed it to the limit. So I think I've got away without using a chorus. And I use that terminology advisedly because there is a very good reason why so many songs have them. It is that anchor that if you're not going to have it, you need something else. So hopefully I've explained a little bit about how I go about it in this song. This final section, I was unsure about whether or not to even play because I'm still working on it. But the idea is here that we have an outro solo. This is very much in prototype form, but I'll play it for you anyway. We're all friends here. And then we fall off a cliff at the end of the song. I haven't actually done the ending yet. I've just got... which, it might survive, I don't know. So that's how I go about breaking a song down into various components. Hope you found it interesting. Please hit like if you did. I'll see you again. Thanks very much.